Hi there, my name is Eli, and welcome back to my channel, Draculijah. And I want to do a reroot today, okay? I have not done a reroot in a while, and I'm just feeling kind of inspired. I have this Monster Ball Cleo DeNile, and I gave her the silliest bangs, and I don't know, I'm kind of ready to give this doll some nice Saran hair. I was inspired by her really nice pink lips, so I'm gonna give her some blonde hair and some pink highlights and throw some tinsel in there. I have an outfit planned for her and I think she'll look really, really cool. So yes, I'm gonna go ahead and get this project started. Okay, here are the supplies that I am using. I have these shades of hair from the Doll Planet. This is Saran hair. We have Beloved Blonde, Just Peachy, Lady Luck, and then Rose Quartz. I feel like these kind of go in varying shades of like light to medium to dark. That way there's some depth in the hair. And then I might add some pink highlights because I'm feeling like it. And then I just feel like personally, Cleo, she needs tinsel, or at least I feel like I like to give her tinsel. So I'm gonna give her this tinsel from Amazon that I got. This is my favorite tinsel to use. With the recent creep productions, people are like, oh, the Abby with the good tinsel versus with the bad tinsel. This reminds me of like Abby's good tinsel. And if you want it, just go on Amazon, type in crystal flash tinsel. 3 words, crystal flash tinsel. And it is used for like fly fishing, I think, for making like lures, And it's really cheap. I got like 24 colors for like $10. Super good deal. There's like 50 or so strands of tinsel in here. I'll show you how to do that and add it to the hair later. And then here is the fashion that I'm going to use. This is kind of Skulltimate Secrets Series 1 Cleo fashion. We have like this blue skirt with this kind of gold lame top. And this is from LOL OMG La Rose. I just like all the metallics together, and this color scheme feels very Barbie to me, so that's kind of why I was inspired to give her the blonde with some pink in there. And you know what? I feel like everyone hated Cleo's pink accessories for Ultimate Secrets Series 1, but I don't mind it. I might add some more paint details to some of these, like the shoes and the earrings, but I don't know, I'm feeling kind of inspired. I was just kind of bored and wanted to do a reroot because I haven't done one in a while, and this is where I landed. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this project started. Okay, so I wanted to show off the whole process for rerooting from the very beginning to the very end. So to start off, I am heating up Cleo's head with a blow dryer. That way it gets warm and then the vinyl on the head gets kind of squishy and you can take off the head a lot easier. You can also submerge the head in boiling water. Either method works, but I tend to start off the project using this method with the hair dryer. And I go very slow, and here I am pulling it off, but it was not quite hot enough. So I'm going back in to heat it up just a little bit more. Then I will go back and try to slide it off once more. And like I said, be very careful here because you do not want to either ruin your doll's head or ruin the neck peg. And you can kind of see me here. There's one half of the neck peg out, and then slowly I work out the other half of the neck peg. So be very careful because, these are your dolls. These cost a lot of money. You don't want to start a project off and then ruin it at the very beginning. So take it slow. And once you kind of get the hang of it, it does get a lot easier, I will say. I've gotten pretty good at taking the heads off successfully. And the next step for this process is to remove all of the hair. So this is polypropylene hair. It's very dense and coarse and dry and just like very, very unpleasant to touch. So that is partly my motivation for wanting to reroot this doll. It's kind of like, she's just an extra doll I have lying around with bad quality hair. So why not reroot her with some fun, colorful hair that is a lot higher quality. Now, the next step is I'm taking a flathead screwdriver and I'm going to scrape the hair plugs out of the scalp. And the hair is all going to get kind of like stuck inside the doll head. But before we start plucking those hairs out, I'm just going to make sure I try to scrape as much of it off as I can. And this part's pretty fun. I always have fun scraping the hair out. And now that I've scraped it, I'll take my tweezers and just pluck out all of those scraped hairs. So Monster High G3 they burn the hair in the head, so it's pretty easy to remove. If you're doing this with a G1 doll where they use like glue and it's very sticky, this process can take a lot more time and be a lot more difficult. But for generation 3, it's pretty smooth sailing. And then once I'm finished removing all of these gross little hair particles, I will dispose of them, and then we can move on to prepping the head. So for this particular doll, because I'm making her blonde, I want to get rid of this kind of like very dark navy blue paint on her head. And so I'm going to take some acetone to wipe it away. Now, I do use 100% acetone. In the past, I've tried using like nail polish remover that was like kind of diluted to, be soft and kind to your cuticles. It was like purple from Target. That one did not work as well. So now I just opt for the pure 100% acetone. And I'm going to take this off as best as I can. And do be very careful to not accidentally wipe the face off. So be very careful. And then once I'm done wiping the factory paint off with acetone, I do rinse the head off with some water just so the acetone doesn't like sit on the vinyl and seep into there. You do want to make sure you rinse it off after wiping it down. And then once it's fully wiped down, I'll move on to my next step, which is I'm going to submerge the head in some like boiling hot water for maybe 15 to 20 seconds. And what it's going to do is it's going to tighten a lot of these holes on the head. So when this doll gets rooted in the factory, it's creating holes in the head. And sometimes those holes can get really big depending on the density. So by submerging it in some hot water, I'm just going to tighten up those holes a little bit. That way when I go in and I reroot and I add my own hair, the hair kind of just sits a little bit more tight and snug in the head. So there you can see those holes right there, especially on the hairline and on the part line. They get to be just a little bit tighter, which I like. Okay, so now we can officially start the rerooting process. So here I have a hank of hair in my hand. I don't know which color this is exactly just by looking at it, but one of the 3 shades of blonde that I chose. And I'm going to section out plugs using the end of my rat tail comb. I usually section out about 6 to 8 plugs at a time. I'll set them on my desk, and then I'll work in small rounds like that, right? I'll section out 6, I'll stick the 6 in the head, and then section out more, and then just keep rinse and repeat that process until, ideally, you are finished. So, on paper, rerooting is very simple, right? Seems pretty easy. Buy hair, section out the hair, stick it in the head, voila, your doll has a new head of hair. But there's a lot of skill expression and a lot of care that needs to be taken to really like elevate the quality of your rerooting and making sure that your end results, the doll with this brand new head of hair, looks the way you want it to look, right? So some of those factors can be like right now, like how much hair I am pulling from my plugs, how dense they are, if you want a full head of hair or if your doll's going to have a thin head of hair, that's all on you, depending how thick you are sectioning out your hair. Typically for me, I like the hair along the hairline and the part line to feel a little extra thick and dense. So when I section out those pieces, I keep that in mind. Now, I just keep repeating this process. I kind of work in a very symmetrical sense where I like to work like from the bottom to the top. I'll do the part line or the bangs last, things like that. Okay, now I'm also doing tinsel because it's me and I'm extra and I love tinsel. So the way I do tinsel is a little different. So the tinsel I'm using is not long enough to fold over itself the way I fold the hair over itself, right? Because of that, I instead just take like a little bit of the tinsel at the end and I just kind of like wrap it around the end of the hair, leaving like just the tiniest bit of extra sort of overhang of the tinsel. You'll see me here. And because of that, this process can be very difficult. And you'll notice when I'm picking up this hair with the tinsel in it, I'm like grabbing practically the needle to make sure that the tinsel is staying in place. And then I am grabbing it and sticking it into the head very, very carefully so that tinsel doesn't go flying and kind of come undone. There you can see, now I know it's going to be stuck in place. I'm going to push my needle in and then the tinsel will be good to go. It's very hard to explain, but if you look at what I'm doing and follow my hands and, follow along, hopefully you can get the hang of it. I did this for 5 other reroots for my Monster High Skulltimate Secrets Iridescent dolls, so you can also check those out for reference as well. And then tragedy did strike. My needle broke, so I have to make a new one. But you know what? This is a perfect learning opportunity. I pull a sewing needle out. I'm going to use these clippers and cut the end of the sewing needle at an angle. And once again, here's another example of like high skill expression. You know, this is a very, I don't know, not difficult thing to do, but to like get a good needle for your rerooting tool can definitely take time. There you can see there's my needle that I just cut. The little end will sometimes kind of just like get stuck to the tool, so I make sure to scrape that out and then just dispose of it. But there we are. I'm just going to stick it back in my X-Acto blade holder, and that's how you make a rerooting tool. So yeah, I prefer my needles not to break. Obviously, it's not fun to have to, you know, take a detour and make a new rerooting tool. But if you are careful, they should last you a good while. You know, mine don't always break often. Usually they last me about 2 to 3 reroots, and then sometimes if I'm not careful, they'll break on me. But I'm just testing out this new needle, and it's good to go. So yeah, I make my own rerooting tools. You can, I think, buy them online, but I'm someone who's very like DIY / I like to save money. So that's why I make my own. And here I am just working through the pink sections of hair. I kind of have these weird design principles in my head that I just kind of put into place. So for this particular Cleo, anywhere I'm using that very like light pastel pink is where I will add tinsel to the doll. So in the end results, when you see any tinsel, that's wherever there's pink in her hair. My mind kind of works like that, where I really like these like strict design rules and principles. So that's sort of one that I instated for this particular reroot. And then for the 3 different shades of blonde, I'm not doing a custom hair blend. I'm just kind of alternating the colors. So I'll do like 2 plugs of the light shade, and then a plug of the dark shade, and then 2 plugs of the medium shade. And like I just kind of alternate it and keep track of it as best as I can. That way, you know, it kind of has the illusion of being a custom color blend without having to actually put in all the effort to blend the hair. Because one thing I will say is, in my experience blending hair colors, it just adds a lot of time to the rerooting process. Like my Neon Frights Cleo, if you go back and check that video out, I love her color blend, the blue that I did for her, but it didn't make that reroot take a lot longer. So this method is kind of a good way to get that same effect, just a lot less work, because, you know, it doesn't need to be as smooth of a blend as in some other dolls that I've done in the past. So yes, but like that's what I'm saying too, like that's a lot of skill expression for rerooting. Is if, like, you know, to the naked eye you're just going to see this doll and be like, oh yeah, she's blonde, but you're not going to know that I'm using 3 different shades of blonde to get a really dimensional, you know, end result. And that's something that I care about, and like it's the small little things to me that make rerooting fun and that like I really enjoy, right? Because for me, it's like my thought process is, if I'm going to be adding a whole new head of hair to this doll, that's going to be my own doll in my own collection that's kind of customized, why not be extra and, you know, go that extra mile to make it feel really unique and special and customized? And I don't know, that's kind of like what I love about rerooting, is all the extra like love that I can put into these projects. When I see these dolls on my shelf, like I truly like love and cherish them so much. Way more than I cherish just like my other dolls in my collection. They're like my precious little babies. So I really do love rerooting as a hobby, and I think that's why when I come on here and I'm doing videos about rerooting in particular, I am so you know, passionate and heated about it, because it really brings me so much like joy, and I want to express that as best as I can in these videos, to maybe try to embolden and inspire someone to take up this aspect of, you know, dolls and doll collecting, because it's an aspect for me that has been so fun. And I know everyone has something in dolls that like they enjoy the most, right? Maybe that's restyling, maybe that's sewing clothes, maybe that's face ups. Like everyone kind of falls into a little rabbit hole and niche of something that they love in particular. And I think for me with dolls, definitely hair, and it's definitely rerooting. So hopefully that comes across here. Okay, I'm just doing plugs in these clips. It's just me plug after plug after plug. Like I said, that's what rerooting is. So if you are not good with monotonous tasks like this might not be the hobby for you, and that's okay, right? This doesn't have to be for everyone, obviously. But for me, I really like it. Like once I really get my footing on a rerooting project and I kind of like see it taking shape, I see the color blends of the hair, it just motivates me even more to want to finish as quickly as I can so I can see the end results manifest. Okay, here's a quick update on Cleo. I have primarily been working on the desk, and I kind of moved inside my bed to work on her. I like a change of scenery. It's a little tough to work on the bed, but I make do. And here is my progress on her. Pretty good. I think she looks really good. I'm nearing the end, okay? So hopefully I can rally and finish this by tomorrow night, I hope. I've been watching Marvel Rivals gameplay on YouTube. It's like a Marvel version of Overwatch. So that's my YouTube activity lately. The closed alpha just released, and I'm not like a PC gamer, but when it eventually makes its way to PlayStation, maybe I'll get it. But yeah, just want to give a quick update. I started this Cleo Friday night. It is now Sunday night, so I feel like I'm working relatively fast with her, and I'm so excited. I love her hair and her color blend. I think she looks really good. So that's my update, and who knows when I will see you again. Okay, since that last clip, I have now caught up very far. I have to do only the part line left and my little section for the bangs. So these parts are a little, extra special, so I'm just going to take some time to explain these to you. So how I do my hairlines, in this case it is not hairlines, I'm so sorry. How I do my part lines, in this case it is a middle part. I basically, where there is like one little hole, I'm going to root hair in there twice. So right there you can see I just rooted in some hair. I'm going to pull that to the right side of the head. And then in that same hole, I'm going to go in with some more hair and put it in, like I said, the exact same hole, and then instead kind of like brush it to the other side of the head, the left side of the head. And I just kind of keep track of the hair as I'm going along. And eventually you will have a nice and seamless part line that emerges. Now, this is a very, very important part of the rerooting process because you are putting a lot of hair into this one section of the doll's head. And what can happen is if you are putting in too much hair, you will create a lot of stress in that area, and the doll head can split. Okay, the scalp can split, the plastic can come undone, and your project will essentially be ruined. So, not to scare you, but like I said, just go slow, be very careful. At times when I'm doing this, I can't get my rerooting tool in all the way. Sometimes I feel lots of resistance. Even if you just get your tool in like halfway, that's good enough. As long as the hair is safe and snug in there, you're good. Do not try to push too much and break your rerooting tool or split the scalp open. So just be very, very careful. And here I'm still doing tinsel, so it's the same exact thought process, even though it is the center part. Same thing, just adding tinsel, and I'm going to do that for both sides as well. So both sides will have the same amount of tinsel, the process here. I'm someone, like I said, I like symmetry. This doll's a very symmetrical reroot. There's times when asymmetry is fine and dandy, but for this particular reroot, I keep things very, very, very symmetrical. And I'm just going to repeat that process. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, not this particular Cleo, I don't know why she worked out so well, but sometimes when you are doing a part line, you'll notice that there might be like a hole in your part line where there's kind of like a bald spot. And the way I describe it is you can like patchwork those bald spots. Just be very careful. I'll just like stick some hair in there and try to cover it up. I think I had to do that once on this Cleo's center part. For the most part, her coverage was pretty good. And I just mentioned that because for me, I'm kind of a perfectionist, and my part lines usually look pretty good and pretty seamless, and I kind of want to vocalize the tips and strategies that I use to get that seamless look. And I feel like if I don't mention it and then you see the end result and then you try to do this yourself and yours doesn't look like mine, then you might be scratching your head, well, like, why does yours look like that and mine doesn't? So that's why I'm trying to add some context, and explain some of the little extra steps that I do that might not really be captured on video as well, if that makes sense. Oh, I hope it does. Okay, so I'm just going to keep working on the center part and then we'll move on to the bangs. So I have this thing when I'm rerooting bangs that because I am rerooting them, I have discovered that you don't need to use a full plug of hair as far as hair length goes, because you are eventually just going to be cutting the bangs anyways, right? So what I have developed is this idea to cut the hair in half for the bangs, essentially. So there you can see I am taking my plug and cutting it in half. That way, when I am rerooting the hair for my bangs, the hair is a lot shorter. And I've mentioned this in the past because this is my favorite technique, but this accomplishes two things. Number one, it lets me reduce the amount of hair that I am wasting because I'm going to eventually cut these bangs, right? And instead of having to cut off, like 8 inches of hair, I'm cutting off like 3 inches of hair, so it's less wasteful. And number two, it lets me be able to section out the bangs very, very easily because the bangs will be a lot shorter from the rest of the hair. That way I know, like, I can just kind of like style the bangs and hop into that a lot quicker and have it kind of pre-sectioned out because I am sectioning it out because it's the hair that I'm rooting. Like, the hair that I'm rooting shorter is the hair that's going to be the bangs. So it's accomplishing a lot of things all at once. And like I said, this is another aspect for me in particular with reroots that has high skill expression because I've done this so many times that I've gotten the hang of it, and I'm kind of like combining a lot of steps into one, right? Like, I'm taking my knowledge of giving my dolls bangs and combining that knowledge that I have with doing reroots to sort of expedite this whole process and just make things a lot quicker and a lot smoother. And same thing goes for the tinsel. I cut the tinsel in half and just use smaller pieces of tinsel. So that's how I do things here. I'm trying to be as savvy and crafty and creative as I can to get a really nice end result. And once we are done doing these bangs, the doll will finally be finished. I'm so happy. I think she turned out really, really good. I'm very proud of her. And when you get to the tail end of a project and you see it all kind of come together, all of the pieces take shape, and you see your vision executed, it's just a really, really good feeling, very satisfying. But work is far from over for this particular doll, just because, I still have to fix her bangs and cut them. If she didn't have bangs, like, you're kind of smooth sailing and practically done, but because she has bangs, we have just a little bit more work to go. Now that I'm done rerooting all of her hair, I'm going to kind of secure it with some Fabri-Tac glue. So there you are. You can see my center part. Look how good that looks. It looks so good. And I'm just kind of making sure all of the hair is separated. And I don't know. I'm just kind of like looking at it because I'm so happy. And now I'm going to add in the glue. But before I do that, I kind of want to show you as best as I can. You see that? That is all of the hair inside the head. It is a lot of hair. I always just think it's interesting to see like what's going on in there. And I'm just going to squeeze the glue for about, 15, 20 seconds, get a good amount in there. Then once I'm done squeezing, I will take a little Q-tip to kind of just like move it around as best I can. This Cleo has a very full head of hair, so I really couldn't even get in there that well with the Q-tip. But, I tried my best to, disperse the glue and make sure that it was covering as much of the doll's head as I could. And just so you know, for FYI, for context, this glue is not like the glue that they used on G1 dolls that's going to create like glue seepage and stickiness, you do not have to worry about that. And now I'm going to wash the doll's hair. So I do this for a lot of reasons. Number one, because I am handling all of this hair with my oily little grimy hands, so I want to wash out those oils. And number two, I'm going to boil wash this doll's hair because I want to flatten the hair and kind of have it sit flat against the doll's head. You can see it's very puffy right now, right? And the boil wash is going to let it kind of lay properly over the doll's head, and especially set in and seal that hairline that I have going on. Not hairline, I'm so sorry, that part line, that center part. And it's also going to help me to lay the bangs flat. So I'm trying to do a lot of things here all at once. Like I want to keep the bangs separated from the left and the right side of my center part, and do that while I'm handling hot water. So I'm doing a lot of things here. And then I forgot to film this, but because I'm pouring boiling hot water over my Cleo's head, the head is going to get a little squishy, and then from there I'm going to just reattach her head onto her body and just like skip the blow dryer step. But before I do that, I do try to make sure that around the opening of her head it's dry, because I don't want to trap any water in there. So, you know, just keeping that in mind. But I forgot to film that. So when you come from this step of me boil washing to seeing her head on her body, that is why. And I'm just using a wide tooth comb. In this case, it was a rainbow high comb because that's all I had. And boom, I guess we're cutting the bangs. We're cutting the bangs. They're cut. Boom, that's it. There you can see I'm just giving it a preliminary cut. And from there, I'm going to add in some hair gel and start shaping these bangs. We are not messing around. We mean business here, okay? And there you can see the color blend I did. There's like some pink and blonde in there. Looks nice, some tinsel. I'm adding my gel. And then here I'm going to begin shaping and sculpting my bangs. Pretty simple process. I just did a whole bangs tutorial if you want a little bit more detail about what I'm doing here. But I'm just going to go through the motions because this isn't a bangs video. This is a rerooting video that happens to have bangs because it's me, and I love bangs. And it's Cleo. Cleo needs bangs and tinsel. You know, that's when Cleo is at her truest self, her peak form, and that's why I'm giving her those features. Okay, so I'm taking my little makeup spoolie, my little like eyebrow brush, shaping the bangs out, flattening them out with my finger, and then especially because there's tinsel, I'm making sure that the tinsel is laying flat and nice. And then there you go, I'm gonna let this dry. I put a lot of gel on there, and then once it's dry, I will go in there again and then cut the bangs even shorter and start sculpting them a second time. So I'm very particular about my bangs. I have a certain way I like to do them, and if you've seen my channel, you probably know that by now. But yeah, I'm just showing you that process here because I like to show you this step because, I don't know, it never gets old to me. I think it's still so fun, and there's something riveting and scary about this process that I love to film it because, I don't know, it is scary. And, you know, just to go in there and just like be chopping off this hair after I just spend so much time rerooting it, very daunting and very scary, but it's really, really worth it for the end results. So yeah, I'm just going to keep sculpting the bangs out until they look right. Even after this first round of trimming them and trying to shape them, I still wasn't happy. So it happens. It definitely takes time to get the desired effect that you're looking for. Be patient with yourself. Don't rush into it. And if you don't like bangs, don't give your doll bangs. Just give them, you know, a middle part without bangs. It's totally up to you. Now I'm coming back to my bangs after giving them my first trim. They weren't looking right, so I'm going to go back in and shape them again. So I'm adding some more water. I used to have water that was like diluted with conditioner, but then I started thinking about like how much extra conditioner is probably just like sitting in my doll's hair, and I stopped doing that. So it's just straight up water, and I'm going to go in with more gel and repeat that process just to shape them and fine tune them one more time, okay? Because it's me and I need my bangs perfect. But after that, then she should finally be finished and we can dress her up and see what the end results look like. Okay, I am back and I am done working on my blonde Cleo Reroot. She is all finished, and I have to say, she is one of my favorites. This always happens though. Like every time I reroot a doll, I usually fall in love with them, and then they're like my favorite doll. And, you know, obviously my favorites change, but I don't know. She is so cool. I really love her. And let me show you up close. I did some changes to her since you last saw me cutting her bangs. I opted to give her some hime bangs instead. You can see they're kind of long on the edges and they help frame her face. And then I did some braids that I tied in the back of her head. And then I undid them so I could brush through her hair. And I really like the way it looks. And it also lets me kind of slide that tiara that I gave her onto her head. And it's really nice and snug. So this is the final hairstyle and I love it. I love the blonde hair. You can see how long the hair is, all the tinsel, the pink streaks. Hopefully you can see the various shades of blonde. I feel like it's harder to capture on camera, but in person it's really beautiful. The effect is stunning. And this tiara, like I had mentioned earlier, I randomly thrifted this piece, so I don't know where it came from or, you know, which stall it might have belonged to. So if you know, please let me know in the comments. But it was just like a clear piece of magenta plastic. So I gave it some gold paint detail, and then I also painted the gemstones with this, like, I don't know, holographic shift paint that I had, and I really like the end results. And then I also sealed it with some gloss like varnish because I didn't want just like unsealed gold paint touching the hair. So it is sealed because I knew it was going to be snug in her head. So yes, for reference. And then I did add some paint details to these earrings, gave her some blue fingernails, and added some paint detail to these shoes as well. So just slightly elevating this doll so the end result feels really nice and complete and elevated. I have to say, I feel like this project is one of my favorites just because I'm taking a lot of like preset fashion elements that already existed and I'm kind of just enhancing the fantasy that I was feeling from this fashion. Like I had just another Cleo wearing this look. I think it was a Ghoul Spirit Cleo maybe, or maybe just it was like Sculptimate Secrets Series 1 Cleo. And I love this outfit, but I didn't feel like the base doll really, you know, fulfilled the fantasy that this outfit was giving. But now with this blonde hair, with this like tiara, I really feel like this outfit is like reaching its maximum potential. So I'm very happy, I'm very pleased. I also gave her a tut that she can kind of like cradle in her arms to kind of, you know, evoke a little bit of that like Paris Hilton vibe. You know, like the heiresses when they would all run around with their little like chihuahuas in their purse. That's kind of the vibe I was going for. So yes, hopefully you see the vision. But I also think like the tiara and that specific gold and then like this blonde, sometimes I get some like Princess Peach vibes from her as well. And then this blue skirt also makes me feel some like 80s Barbie vibes as well. So she's got a lot going on, but I'm very, very happy with how she turned out. So thanks for hanging out with me today and watching me, you know, reroot this doll's hair from beginning to end. I hope you learned something new. I love making long form content. So I really, really do appreciate if you stuck around this long, you know, however you watch my videos, if you're skipping through them just to the fun parts or however you want to watch them, I just appreciate that you're here with me. And I love dolls. I don't do this because, you know, I think like I can make like a long-term career out of this. That's a little bit, you know, outside of the realm of possibility, I think. But just for me to come on here and have this space to share my hobby with all of you. And if any of you find it interesting or entertaining or funny or whatever you take from it, I want you to know that I appreciate you and I do not take it lightly because this is so fun for me. Like, hello, I'm playing with dolls as an adult for fun, as like stress relief and inspiration and channeling into my creativity and imagination. Like that to me is so fun. And so I want to spread and share that joy that I have with dolls to others. So even if you don't, you know, want to go reroot some hair after this, that's fine. But even if that just means you feel a little bit closer and bond with your dolls a little bit more the next day, I'm happy with that too. So yes, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully any of that made sense. I ramble, I talk a lot, you know how it is here. But like I said, that's all I have. My name is Eli and this is my channel, Draculijah. Me and Blonde Cleo are signing out for the day and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.